I am honored to receive the Charles English Criminal Justice Section Award. I was so surprised and delighted to receive Tina Luongo's letter last fall conveying the good news, particularly given the extraordinary accomplishments of those who received the award in prior years. I'd like to thank the committee, as well as those who nominated me, for your recognition of my work and your tribute not only to me, but to all those with whom I've worked to help create and support a system of global international criminal justice that is impartial, effective, and can deliver justice to the most vulnerable in the world affected by atrocity crimes. For 30 years, I worked with some of the pioneers of international criminal law, prosecutors, defense counsel, judges, diplomats, civil society organizations, fellow academics, and of course, victim and survivor groups to advocate for one simple principle, that no one is above the law, even those who wield political power or weapons to silence, intimidate, kill, or otherwise harm their opponents or even civilians that simply get in the way. This core principle that all human beings are created equal was a founding principle of the United States that remains lofty but unfulfilled today, not only in the United States, but across the globe. Much of my work has been on the global scourge of crimes against humanity, which were first codified in the Nuremberg and Tokyo charters after World War II, but never received codification in a global treaty. I've been leading the campaign to adopt a new global treaty on crimes against humanity since 2008. Given that we live in a world on fire in which these crimes are being committed on a daily basis in every continent of the world, we hope very much that states will take it upon themselves to convene a diplomatic conference to carry this treaty into law next year. For the past 12 years, I've served as the special advisor to two ICC prosecutors, Fatou Bensouda and Karim Khan. At the ICC, I've seen the incredible victimization and toll from the commission of atrocity crimes on individuals. And I've also seen how the survivors cling to hopes of justice even after they have lost literally everything else. I hope that the U.S. ratifies the International Criminal Court statute, embracing the principle of accountability before the law, not only for ourselves, but for all around the globe. And let me say again how honored I am to receive this award. Many of the pioneers that received it before me are extraordinary people, and I just cannot thank you enough for the honor bestowed upon me. I look forward to many, many more years of working with the ABA and wish the Criminal Justice Section a wonderful meeting this year. Thank you.
I'm deeply honored to receive this Crime Victim Attorney Award, named after the late Frank Carrington, who's been referred to as the father of the crime victim rights movement in America. It's an extreme honor to be included in the company of the 15 previous recipients, distinguished leaders and organizations who've worked tirelessly to ensure that the voices of crime victims and survivors are heard and respected within our criminal justice system. I'd like to thank the ABA Criminal Justice Section for this honor, but I would like to accept this award on behalf of the board and staff of TLPI, the Tribal Law and Policy Institute, a Native American nonprofit corporation that I've had the privilege of leading since its establishment in 1996. TLPI has had a primary focus on providing training, technical assistance, and publications designed to address the unique needs of American Indian and Alaska Native crime victims and survivors, including 9 National Victims of Crime in Indian Country conferences, which brought together some 1,500 participants each time who shared their knowledge, experiences, and ideas for developing and sustaining victim services and programs. Extensive crime victimization training, technical assistance, and publications, working with tribes considering implementing the tribal criminal jurisdiction provisions under VAWA 2013 and VAWA 2022, developing and promoting ABA Native American policy, including support for VAWA 2013, VAWA 2022, and efforts to address the interrelated issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women. The ABA, with the support of this section, has become a leader in advancing the rights of American Indian and Alaska Natives. In the 20 years from 1980 to 2000, only 4 Native-specific ABA resolutions were adopted. Since 2001, however, there have been 32 more Native American-specific ABA resolutions adopted, many directly addressing the needs of Indian country crime victims and survivors. I would like to focus on one of these needs, the problems created by the 1978 Oliphant decision, a U.S. Supreme Court decision that stripped Indian nations of the ability to exercise their inherent criminal jurisdiction over non-Indians who come onto tribal lands and commit crimes. Oliphant left American Indian and Alaska Native women and children at a higher risk than any other group for domestic abuse, sexual assault, and murder, with statistics demonstrating that non-Indians commit a majority of these violent crimes. Oliphant also led to the current epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women. Ultimately, the phrase addressing the Oliphant in the room was used to describe the unwillingness of Congress to even discuss the seemingly intractable issue of overturning the Oliphant decision. But Native advocates, especially American Indian and Alaska Native women, persisted. It was especially important that many Native women were willing to publicly share their very personal and very painful stories of victimization and survival in the fight for the restoration of tribal criminal jurisdiction over non-Indians. Many of these stories were celebrated in the play Sliver of a Full Moon, which was provided virtually twice by the Civil Rights and Social Justice section. Ultimately, VAWA 2013 did include provisions for the first time since 1978, which created a framework for tribal prosecutions of non-Indians. Unfortunately, however, it only provided very limited jurisdiction. In the words of survivor Lisa Bruner, the partial restoration of tribal jurisdiction in VAWA 2013 is just a sliver of the full moon we need to ensure all of our women are safe. Thankfully, however, VAWA 2022 significantly expanded the tribal criminal jurisdiction provisions in VAWA 2013 by including additional categories of criminal conduct. I'm very pleased to recognize that the ABA has fully supported these efforts every step of the way. In closing, I would like to thank the ABA leaders, especially current ABA President Mary Smith, who have stood with us in our ongoing struggles to address the needs of Indian country crime victims and survivors.
I'd like to thank the American Bar Association Criminal Justice Section for honoring me with the 2024 Livingston Hall Juvenile Justice Award. When I look at the past recipients, I'm truly humbled to accept this. My story sort of begins when I got out of the service and I had 3 job offers. One was with the Hartford Insurance Company, insuring oil tankers. The second was with the U.S. Maritime Commission, insuring fishing boats. And the third was with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Youth Services, which was the state's youth correctional agency. The agency had 5 institutions. So if you knew the gender and age of your client, you knew which institution they were going to. The agency had been troubled with infernal abuse allegations, and the governor wanted to reform the agency. He called upon a rumpled sociology professor from Ohio State University, Dr. Jerome Miller. Miller, after a short time at the institutions, decided they weren't going to work and decided to close them. This became part of a national trend of closing juvenile institutions. He replaced the institutions with a statewide system of community-based programs. When Miller left Massachusetts, he went to Pennsylvania and I followed him. There we established the same level of community-based program in many of the counties. One of the things we did is the Camp Hill Prison, which housed 400 juveniles in one whole block. These were kids who had come from other institutions. 350 of those 400 were placed in community-based programs, closing Camp Hill to juveniles. The other advantage of Pennsylvania was I met 4 Temple University law students. Bob Schwartz had just established the Juvenile Law Center of Pennsylvania. So from their idea, when I came back to Massachusetts, I decided that what I wanted to do was represent one-on-one. And I established the Children's Law Center of Massachusetts, whose mission became very simple. We would provide comprehensive, holistic representation in delinquency, child welfare, status offenses, and special education. We would listen to what the kid wanted us to do. We would build a relationship with our client. Justice Fortas said that the essence of justice for kids is the right to counsel. A recent case I had 2 7-year-old boys whose parents were arrested by the federal government in a drug raid, importing herbs from China, I think. So the kids were placed in foster care with the Commonwealth's Department of Children and Families. The kids wanted to go stay with relatives instead of in this state foster care. So I spent about 2 weeks before the hearing going to visit them. I saw them 5 times in a 2-week period, so I'd gotten to know them pretty well. I remember coming down the street and turning into their backyard at the foster home they were living in, and they were playing basketball. And one of the other kids who recognized me said to one of my clients, "Oh, there's your friend." Well, he turned back, he saw it was me, and he turned to his foster brother and he said, "That's not my friend, that's my lawyer." And I knew then that justified what we were doing. We had built a relationship and we were allowing kids to be able to use lawyers appropriately as they should. It seems to me that the American Bar Association has long had a slogan, which is justice for all. And justice for all is not merely an aspiration, it's more than that. It actually is a meaningful way to redirect representation so that we can teach the courts, giving our clients their voice before the courts. Children in these cases, they're not victims. They can become active participants in their case. Once again, thank you to the American Bar Association, the Criminal Justice Center, Criminal Justice section for this award. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Kristine Hamann. I'm the Executive Director of Prosecutors Center for Excellence. I am so thankful for the ABA award that I've received. I'm especially thankful to the nominating committee, of which I'm a member, who somehow managed to discuss this nomination and award it to me without me ever knowing. So thank you so much to them. I also want to congratulate the other awardees who have done so much to improve the criminal justice system. But this is a prosecution award, so I wanted to acknowledge Norm Maleng and also Dan Satterberg, who last year got the Norm Maleng Award. He was Norm's successor and has filled his shoes and more. Another wonderful prosecutor that this award is named after is Kevin Curtin, who I knew from the Criminal Justice Council. He was a great guy. We laughed. We enjoyed his intellect and comments, and were so impressed with the work that he was doing with Turkish prosecutors. We certainly miss him. But in the spirit of talking about wonderful prosecutors, I do want to mention Robert Morgenthau, who was the District Attorney of New York County. I had the great privilege of working for him for over 30 years. I was on his executive staff, so I heard many of his stories. But he demonstrated just the top flight of what a prosecutor should be, with his integrity, courage, exceptional intelligence. In years and maybe decades before others were doing this, he created a community outreach program, developed a nonprofit for New York City youth, had a victim and witness program. So he really was ahead of his time. He was also devoted to, as he would say, going after crime in the suites and not just the streets, as he believed that the law should be enforced amongst the powerful as well as those who were not as powerful. So he had that tremendous integrity. I can recommend a great book that's recently been written about him and his family. It's called The Morgenthau's, written by Andrew Meyer, and it's full of all the stories of his life as well as the lives of his very prominent father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. But even as wonderful as Morgenthau was, prosecution continues to evolve. And I think the modern prosecutors of today are moving forward quickly into so many important areas. They are innovators and problem solvers, working with the community to solve crime, prevent recidivism. Prosecutors are working on building shelters for victims and witnesses. They're doing programs for offenders like treatment and diversion, and some are even doing reentry programs. They're prosecutors looking at resentencing and conviction integrity. Prosecutors are doing community outreach of all kinds, just fun things like community events and sporting events. And this is really expanding that prosecutor role from the traditional role of just evaluating and prosecuting crime. It's this work that Prosecutor Center for Excellence is encouraging and trying to build upon. We have recently formed a National Best Practices Committee made up of prosecutors in 29 states. And what we're looking at is creating a vision for the prosecutor office of the future. And we hope that that vision will bring an entirely new approach to prosecution that also embraces the mandate of helping one's community to be a healthier, safer, and better place for everyone, victims, witnesses, and offenders alike. So I just want to end by also mentioning that I want to thank my family for always being so supportive for me. And once again, thanking the ABA for this amazing award that will be like wind in my sails to keep me going, working with prosecutors to do the best work we can possibly do. Thank you so much.
Greetings. My name is Deborah Denno. I'm the Arthur A. McGivney Professor of Law at Fordham Law School and the founding director of Fordham's Neuroscience and Law Center. I am thrilled to have received the Raeder-Taslitz Award in honor of Professor Myrna Raeder and Professor Andrew Taslitz. I knew both Myrna and Andy, and to be associated with them in any capacity is the highest tribute. Like many academics, I've worked on a wide range of topics. One topic is neuroscience, which I and others define generally as any information related to the human brain. The criminal law has focused on the human mind and mental states since the 17th century. Yet the field of neuroscience is relatively young and often mysterious. As a result, the topic has fueled heated debate regarding the true impact of neuroscience on the criminal justice system. Because of this debate, I created an empirical study of all criminal cases that address neuroscientific evidence in any capacity over a 12-decade period, from 1900 to 2022. This data set of nearly 9,000 cases provides systematic information showing the use of neuroscientific evidence in courtrooms in every state across the country. Let me give you 3 examples. First, my study's results show that neuroscientific evidence has a significant presence in the criminal justice system, even at the start of the 20th century. Second, like other types of evidence, neuroscience is typically introduced for well-established legal purposes, and that is to provide fact finders with more complete, reliable, and precise information. Yet thirdly, neuroscientific evidence can also introduce challenges for both prosecutors and defense attorneys, and that can cause both sides to abuse such evidence. My study shows that such abuses are real. They're simply not in the direction commentators typically think they are. That conclusion is critically important for attorneys to know for future litigation, because neuroscience is becoming more pronounced with every passing year. Much of my career is focused on the interdisciplinary analyses of crime and criminal law. These are discussions I shared with Andy Taslitz shortly before his untimely death. Andy and Myrna Raeder have set the highest standards for us all, and they have left us an inspiring trail to follow. Thank you. See you in San Diego.